everyone, it's Mrs. Shannon, and we are going to go through Activity 81 together. You'll notice that there will be a video down in the lower right-hand corner because I am going to show you stuff as we go through it. That being said, there is a little bit of a lag, and I know that, so just ignore the lag time on the video in the bottom right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start here with the home page. This is the home page. When you log into class pages, this is what you are going to see. Okay, it is the welcome and overview. Notice the agendas are right here. Now, looking at the date here, it is not February 20th. You will probably be starting this February 25th or 26th, or for very few of you, the 27th. And so you will actually have to click till you get to the correct one. Okay. Notice that right now I don't have the 26th up. I have the 25th, but it tells us that we will begin working on Activity 81 tomorrow. So this is where I see my agendas. To actually access 81, I click on Activity 81, which happens to be called the NetForce Challenge. In the NetForce Challenge, I have my lesson steps, just like all of my activities now. Underneath, I have assignment to submit, and then absent or alternative. Now, if you are pulled from the assignment and asked to do the alternative, this is where you would go. If you were absent, this is where you would go as well. It says complete Activity 81 alternative. Mrs. Shannon will have hard copies, so you will see me for that hard copy. But for most of you, you'll do the regular assignment to submit, which is always right below the lesson steps. So for Activity 81, you will complete the paper handouts in your group. I will give you a sheet that looks like this. Okay, 2 pages, front and back. You're going to do all your writing for this particular one on this piece of paper. Everyone is going to write down their own answers, but you're going to be working in your group. You do not know whose I will collect from your group to grade. You want to make sure that everyone has the correct answers down, because I may grade someone else's other than yours and give the whole group those points that were earned, okay? And so I'll go through that more as we go through the lab. So the lesson steps, once you have it, it says NetForce Challenge, follow along in textbooks E37 to E40. Remember, you can access your textbook online, or if you are in the classroom, you can actually use one of the hard ones. And I go to E37 to E40. Now, just so you guys know, I'm going to open that. I'll come back to that in a minute. Once it stops loading, and I'll show you how you can go back and forth. Okay. Now, introduction. It says make sure every group member of your group has a paper copy of Activity 81. That's the paper that I showed you. Decide on roles and write the name of all group members on the paper. So there's going to be 4 different group roles. There's going to be the group reader, who is responsible for reading out loud each step. The group communicator, who is the one person who can ask me a question or another group a question. The data manager, to make sure that everyone is copying down answers and that they are all the same and all correct, because again, only one person will have theirs graded for the entire group. And finally, the project manager, responsible for cleanup, keeping track of time, and for keeping all group members on task. So go ahead and take a minute and decide who is going to do which role and write your name in the corresponding box. You should have all 4 names filled out, yours and your group mates. Okay. After you are done there, have the reader read through the Getting Started pre-lab, and as a group, answer the questions. The Getting Started is on your paper. We'll see if I can show you. It's on the left side of your paper. It says Getting Started, okay? And in fact, I will show you. It says Getting Started Pre-Lab. So this is the part that you're going to do first. Okay. It says slides 4 through 9, break this pre-lab down. So that means the next few slides, it's going to talk to me a little bit more about it. So for the first question, I will notice that this slide looks a lot like this picture right here. In many situations, more than one force is acting on an object. Well, when I'm in here, we have the same thing, more than one force acting on an object. The question is, what is the net force on the block? So you're going to have to look at the arrows. If we have 10 newtons of force going to the right and 2 newtons of force going to the left, what do you think the total force is and in which direction? Okay. It says record your answer on your activity 81 sheet. Okay. And then you're going to discuss it. Hopefully you came up with something that looks a little bit like this. You have a net force of 8 newtons going to the right. Okay, this diagram represents a block that is being pulled to the right with 10 newtons and to the left. They cancel each other out and you're left with 8 to the right, 8 newtons of force to the right. Wrong one. Okay. After you've seen how this force diagram looks, you're going to have the reader read the introduction and look for key ideas. Here is a copy of the introduction. It is just copied from the Force and Motion textbook. So take a moment, have the reader read this out loud. So the challenge here, now that we've looked at these diagrams of force, and now that we have read about unbalanced forces and balanced forces, is for you to decide if you can tell if the forces of an object are balanced or unbalanced. That is what your challenge is. So at this point, it tells you that you're going to complete the procedure and record your data. If you're looking at your activity sheet, here is your procedure. It is labeled procedure. Read and complete the procedure according to the directions on page E38 through E40. You will need to use your textbook. And use the table below to record your data. The observation column will tell you what should go in the data column. So whatever this says in the observation column tells you what you should be recording in the data column. So what I've done is I put each step of the procedure in this slideshow as well. So even if you're looking here instead of in the book, you have the procedure. So place the block on the table and hook both force meters as shown below. Well, this is what the block, whoopsie, not quite there yet. This is what the block will look like. You have a block that looks like this, and you'll have 2 force meters. What you're going to want to do is there are little holes in the side. You are just going to hook one in through the top and the other one in through the bottom. Okay, so right here I have a picture for you. Okay, and this is how it should look. Okay, each mark on the force meter is 0.1 newtons, and they are measured by every 0.5. You'll see a measurement there. While not moving the block, have one group member pull gently 1 meter of force while the other pulls 1 newton of force while the other pulls another newton of force the other direction. So I'm going to put this up closer. Here we go. So hopefully you can see that as I pull down there, I'm at 0.5 newton, and now I'm at 1 newton. So make sure that you are reading how far you are pulling it. You should keep it on the table while you're pulling it, though, just a heads up. In step 3, it says, in your science notebook, draw a force diagram on the block similar to the example below. On your diagram, record the forces. So here's an example that they gave you in the textbook. You're not dealing with 5 newtons of force. You're dealing with 1 newton of force. But you can use this as an example to go by in drawing yours. Now it says to record on the data sheet, not the notebook. Okay? And look here, procedure step 3. That's the step I'm on. Step 3. Observation, force diagram. So I am going to draw something that looks like this, but uses the forces that we were told to use in step 2. And you should have a drawing in this spot right here. When you are done, you are then going to look at what unbalanced forces are. Unbalanced means that they aren't the same. Okay, they're not going the same amount each direction. So to do that, you're going to pull gently 1.5 newtons. So you're going to go to the 1.5 newtons on one direction, while the other direction, again, we're going 1 newton. So here, 1.5 and 1 newton, both in opposite directions. And then switch roles and repeat step 4 until every person gets to pull the block and observe its motion. So look and see, the block should be on the table. You're going to want to see, is it moving? And if so, which direction? And then you're going to discuss with your group members the motion of the block. In particular, decide if the block was accelerating or not. Record your conclusion in your science notebook. Well, again, we're using this sheet instead of our science notebook, and look at procedure step 6. Procedure step 6. This is where we're going to write down the conclusion. Which direction, or was it accelerating or not, and which direction was it accelerating, and if it was accelerating. After that, you're going to draw another force diagram for what you observed right here in the 7th box. So now that we've warmed up, we did part A, we looked at balanced forces. In part B, we looked at unbalanced forces. Now you're going to do part C, the challenge. So in this activity, your challenge is to decide if the forces on the block are balanced or unbalanced. So this one is going to take a little bit different route here. You're going to take the block before we start, make sure nothing's attached to it. You're going to put 2 metal cylinders on it, and then you're going to take the rubber band and band them down. So here's what mine looks like, okay? Oopsie. You can see how they're banded down. And then take the force meter and put it on one side, okay? So I have it on one side, and I'm going to put it back down on the table because everything's going to be done with it on the table. Practice pulling gently on the force meter so that the block slides steadily and as slowly as possible. When you can do this well, read the force needed to pull the block. So now you actually are going to make it move, and you have to decide the force that it takes to make it move in a nice, slow, steady fashion. Switch roles and repeat steps 9 and 10 until each group member has a chance to pull and observe. Okay. With your group members, discuss the motion of the block. Discuss how much force it took to move it. And you're going to record this not in your notebook, but in the conclusion on motion of block for step 12. And then you're going to draw a force diagram for step 13. Okay, draw the force diagram of the block at step 10. And then underneath it, I want you to label, is this a balanced force or unbalanced force? And you will have to decide as a group which way you should label it. After you are finished with step 13, you need to go on to the analysis questions. Okay, the analysis questions are found in your textbook, but they're also found on your paper. Okay, so these analysis questions are the same as your textbook. So as your group, you will want to go ahead and answer these analysis questions based on what you learned from part A, B, and C of this lab. If you have any questions, let me know.